welcome to the very first episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Valento, and this is the podcast where we talk all things NBA. So let's get some maintenance out the way. I will be doing this episode by myself. Brody cannot make it today, but Monday with our second episode, he'll be there. And going on that, the schedule is going to be Monday and Wednesday in terms of episodes. Maybe a little rocky trying to get things together. So maybe hit and miss in the beginning, but you can expect Monday and Wednesday for episodes. I'm recording on a Wednesday, so hopefully it gets out on a Wednesday. We'll see. Let's kind of just jump into it. I made a nice little Google slide of all my topics, so we can jump into it. First off, since my favorite team obviously is the Lakers, as I hinted kind of in the intro episode, they played Houston for the second time last night. Obviously a way different game from the first night where we handled them pretty easily, but Lakers barely come out against Houston, winning 119-117. They're now 4-3 on the year. The big three having their really first good game all around where everyone's contributing pretty well. Russ had 27, 7 and 9. Pretty good efficiency. He was attacking constantly. Took 4 threes, didn't make one, but he wasn't settling for those threes. They're wide open. Can't really do much. He's gonna have to take some threes throughout games. So whether they make or miss, as long as he's attacking the rim at the end of the day, I can't complain. AD, also 27 points, 9 rebounds. Very aggressive in that first half. He was going to work on Sengun basically every single time. It was just light work for him. Second half, I think it was third quarter, AD tweaked his ankle and he missed several shots in a row, so that kind of threw off his rhythm a little bit, but he picked it up towards crunch time and still ended up having a very solid game. And then, of course, LeBron had a 30-piece with 10 rebounds. Fourth quarter, he went off. He was attacking the rim a lot. Didn't really settle for threes. Beginning of the year, I believe he was coming in with averaging 9 threes a game, which is definitely a lot more threes you would expect from LeBron. And I'm really glad he started attacking towards the end of the game. We really needed him to pull us out of that game, and he came up and showed up for us, which was greatly appreciated because I definitely did not want to lose to the Rockets. So I'm glad a win's a win. We got out of there alive. That's all I can ask for. Now that that's out of the way, I came up with a segment in the show called the Frank Meter, where we discuss Frank's coaching status, what my personal opinions are of him, how his job security is, because in that Thunder rant video, I was very, very critical of him, but still don't know how to feel about Frank so far. He's got a lot to work with, I get it, but on a scale of 1 through 10, I'd give him 1 being absolutely fire him, get him out, to a 10 being he's definitely safe. I'd give him like a 6. He's still got to work out some rotations. I get it. We don't have guys healthy. We're still missing THT, Ariza, Ellington, and those are very key guys that we're missing right now. But defense is still very, very rocky. Pick and rolls still really hard to watch. We do not guard them well at all. We try to blitz on screens where the big man, like for example, Russ gets picked by Sengun, or DJ comes up to help contain so Russ can get over the screen and come back. But it's just too much time for our guards fighting over a screen to get back to their man. and DJ has to stay longer than he needs to, and it just leads to Sengun or whoever big guy we're playing just gets wide open underneath the basket for a dunk, or if a guy rotates down to help on the big guy, it's just an open shot for a corner or a wing shot. So still a lot to work with on the defensive end in terms of pick and rolls and matchups, stuff like that. But fourth quarter, especially in the third quarter, second half overall in general, is we picked it up a lot against Houston. Houston dropped 70 on us in the first half. You can't let that happen against an inferior Rockets team. But I'm glad in the second half we picked it up a lot more energized and being hectic out there on the defensive end. So right now, Frank, you're doing good. Actually, you're doing okay, not good. You're doing okay. But right now, your job's safe. I'll give it to you. Moving on to my early season power rankings. So I did about 10 teams, 1 through 10, obviously. First on my... Actually, I'll start from the bottom. We'll start at 10. 10, I got Memphis. Memphis has been one of the very surprising teams so far, but mostly it's because of John Morant. Ja has been absolutely insane this year. He's been going crazy. Obviously, he went off against the Lakers at Staples for 40 and 10, which is, if he can start hitting those threes, which everyone's been talking about, he needs to be a more consistent shooter. That will be very, very scary for Ja, because people are going to have to respect his shot, and if he can start drilling those consistently, he's going to be one hell of a player, that's for sure. Going on to 9, I got Philly. Philly's kind of in a weird spot right now because it came out that Joel has been playing through his knee injury, which is kind of concerning, but you got to respect it because if Joel's there or isn't there, that team's nothing, especially with no Ben right now. So if Joel doesn't play, it's kind of hard, but if he does play, they're a really good team. Even without Ben there, they got good role players. And right now they're looking solid. Andre Drummond, the former Laker, had a really good starting game in place of Joel against Portland. Pretty disappointing loss for Portland, but that's besides the point. Philly picked it all up in Joel's absence and had a hell of a game from everyone, like Georges Niang, Seth Curry, Tyrese Maxey. Those guys have been picking up the slack with Joel out that game, and I'm sure with Joel there, hopefully he gets healthy soon and Philly can continue to become a solid team in the East, which I believe they'll be at least top 5 if Joel remains healthy, but that's the big question. Going up to 8, another surprising team. We got the Wizards. Dinwiddie, Kuz, Montrez, KCP, basically all the former Lakers and Dinwiddie have been really, really good for Washington. When they were traded to Washington and they signed Dinwiddie, I knew they were going to be solid, but I didn't think they were going to come out the gates this good. I thought they'd be hovering around 500-ish for most of the season, but they came out pretty strong out of the gates, picking up some good wins. Kuz has been rebounding the ball really well. Montrez has been a beast with Gafford out. And Bradley Beal's been struggling a little bit shooting-wise, but even with Bradley struggling, they've been picking up some wins, which is something the Wizards haven't done in years past, that's for sure. So it's a good sight for Wizard fans to see their team being good early. 7, I got the Nets. Nets have been struggling a little bit with Harden in terms of his not getting those foul calls, as I mentioned before in the Nets video. He had a breakout game against Indy, I believe it was. He looked like his old self again, and they're going to start heading up in the right direction. I predicted that Harden, it wouldn't last long, but it's reason to concern whether he'll continue arguing for foul calls or he'll actually adapt. And it looks like he's going to adapt, so I'm sure the Nets will be fine. And they'll be higher in the power rankings as the year rolls on. 6, I got the Lakers. Granted, they are playing weaker teams right now. That Rockets game, even though we only won by 2, it was a pretty good sight for our big three. To play all well together like that, all chipping in 27 or more. And it was just really good to see our offense kind of clicking. Our offense isn't really the problem, it's our defense. So our defense is going to have to come around eventually. But I'm sure we'll be middle of the pack in defense. And if we're like top 10 or probably top 10, top 15 in terms of defense, that'll be good enough for me. I just don't want to be one of the bottom feeders when it's all said and done in defense. So still want to see the Lakers play against more of the higher competition, and that's going to be coming shortly. We play the Heat in the oncoming days, so that'll be an interesting game to watch. So keep an eye out on the Lakers moving forward. 5, I got the Knicks. Knicks have been really good. Their offense is a lot better from last year with adding Kemba and Fournier. Those two guys have been really good for their offense. Makes their offense more diverse instead of just feeding Julius all the time throughout games. But the Knicks have looked really solid, and I expected them to be solid with Tibbs there. Their defense is obviously going to be good. It's just their offense, and their offense has came around so far in the beginning of the year, so I'm kind of proud of the way they're playing right now. 4, I got Chicago, probably my second favorite team to watch at the moment besides the Lakers. The Bulls have looked really, really good out of the gates, especially with that comeback win in Boston when they were down big going into the 4th. That was a really big game. DeMar had 37 and only missed 5 shots, which was really insane. He's been really big for them, and I was kind of skeptical of DeMar being that third fiddle, and I didn't know if he was going to get that many touches or be the odd man out with Levine and Vucevic there. But yeah, DeRozan's fit in very nicely. Him and Levine feed well off each other. They both take turns. Whenever one's hot, the other one feeds them. It's just been really fun to watch the Bulls so far. And their schedule is going to continue to get harder. We're going to see them play more competition, and we're going to see what they're made of in these upcoming weeks. Next, I got the Heat at 3. The Heat, another dark horse for me in the East, with Lowry, PJ Tucker, Markieff, and other guys that they added throughout free agency. They're going to be a really scary defensive team in the playoffs. They got a lot of dogs on their team, to say the least. They're going to be really good on defense. Their offense is kind of a question mark, but I wouldn't really say so since Hero's been playing really, really well, which I expected a bounce-back season from him. And they still got Oladipo, who's probably going to return sometime this month, I would hope. And then Jimmy's been playing really well. Bam, you're looking for him to take an offensive leap this year. So I think the Heat will be really good this year. Just their offense is something to look out for, but I think they'll be fine. I believe they'll be top 4 in the East when it's all said and done and be my dark horse in the playoffs, because if you're Milwaukee or Brooklyn, I would not want to be in a 7-game series with the Heat, because that will be a dogfight. It will be an absolute dogfight with them. So, yeah. At 2, I got the Warriors. Obviously, the Warriors have looked really good. They're 6-1 or 5-1, I believe, to start the year. Curry's looked really good. Obviously, it's Curry. He's going to be insane. It's really been Curry. It's the only thing I've noticed from the Warriors so far. Wiseman, he's on my fantasy team, so I've been keeping updates on him. He's been cleared for full practice, so he should be returning to the Warriors soon. I'm really interested to see how they implement Wiseman into their system, So that should be interesting to watch. You got Draymond there. You got Wiggins being solid. Jordan Poole being a good starting piece while Clay's out. Poole's looked really good. He's kind of cooled down a little bit, but he's still a really solid player and provides that bench power for when Clay does come back. Poole will be there to handle the ball with Curry on the floor or off the floor, but Poole will be a very key piece for them moving forward. And I think if Clay comes back, as we all think he will, the Warriors will be probably top 5 as well in the West. And then number 1 of my power rankings, I got Utah. Utah is always a solid team. They're always going to be top 3 in the West, probably. They'll probably be top 3 again this year. You got Donovan being Donovan as usual. You got Mike Conley, who's been starting the year pretty solid after his first year in Utah being very rocky, but he's picked up his play in the past 2 years. So I think if you're Utah, you're probably not going to see much change. You haven't seen Rudy Gay yet, but Rudy Gay and Eric Paschall, those are 2 guys that can help to the bench. But overall, I think Utah will be top 3 again, and they'll remain top of the power rankings so far, since they're basically them and the Warriors have stuck out to me personally. Moving on to my disappointing teams so far this year, and the poster child I have for my disappointing teams is the Boston Celtics. Granted, not too many people were talking about the Celtics prior to the collapse of the Chicago Bulls game, where they blew a massive lead going into the fourth, where they only scored, I believe, 9 or 11 points in the whole fourth quarter, which is really sad to watch. But yeah, the Celtics, they gotta figure it out with Jalen and Tatum. They gotta figure out how to get their offense flowing and not be so stagnant and ISO heavy. Marcus Smart came out and said it himself. They gotta pass the ball. They don't want to pass the ball since they're very talented scorers, but you can't have stagnant offenses in the fourth quarter when teams really lock in on you and stop your star players. So you gotta see what your team's made of. With Tatum and Brown passing the ball to Schroeder, Josh Richardson, those guys, they can help your team. They can make your team very solid. They just gotta work it out. Their defense isn't that good either. So Boston has their hands full so far. They gotta figure it out. They've been pretty disappointing so far. But yeah, Boston, I don't like you since I'm a Laker fan, but as a neutral fan for this episode, yeah, figure it out. Make your offense better. Play some better defense. And yeah. Surprising teams. I mentioned them in the power rankings. Memphis has been really good to start off the year. Ja has looked amazing for them. Been averaging, I believe, 37 on the year. He's second in league scoring right now. You need Jaren Jackson to step up a little bit. He's been a little underwhelming for them so far since you paid him that max extension. But I'm sure Jaren will come around and become a really solid player for them moving forward. And they still haven't gotten Dillon Brooks back yet. Desmond Bane's filled that role very, very well with that 3-and-D mindset that similar to Dillon Brooks. So Desmond Bane can definitely hold down that starting spot until Dillon Brooks comes back. But yeah, Memphis is going to be probably 7-8, maybe playing team when it's all said and done, I believe. But overall, they're having a very solid start to the year, and it's pretty impressive what they're doing so far. Now moving to the Indiana Pacers. Pretty rocky start, 2-6 on the year. Very close losses. with a blown lead to Charlotte and losing in overtime, and then a back-to-back with Washington, and they lost an overtime game there as well. Causes a question of what the Pacers should do moving forward, whether they should keep this group together or blow it up, and because right now it seems like Indiana is content with being okay. They'll be lower half of the standings in the East, maybe win a playoff series, but I don't really see that happening with this current construction of the roster. Personally, I think you gotta move off Miles Turner and get some sort of return. You just gotta, I think, bring something new to work with, because this group has been around for feels like a while now, and it hasn't really done too much or exceeded any expectations with this big three, if you want to call it that. But the Pacers are in a weird situation. Brogdon, solid. Sabonis, very solid. Turner, solid. But you don't really have that superstar caliber player that you're really hoping for. So Indiana's got some questions to answer. If they continue to be mediocre throughout the year and be a little over 500 and maybe losing a play-in again or losing the first round, they're going to have to figure something out, whether they want to blow it up or make small changes with role players or trade Miles. They have to figure something out moving forward. You can't stick with this group of guys anymore, personally, in my opinion. Moving on to my big boy, Zion Williamson. Zion has been the talk of the town recently in New Orleans with a very, very hard to watch video of him looking very overweight, doing some cuts and warming up on the court prior to a game. I don't know. Zion, it's kind of hard to judge him because he's barely touched the floor at all. And right now it's rumored that he's well over 300 pounds currently, and you can tell by this picture right now that he's obviously put on some poundage being out with his injury. So it's just New Orleans got to figure something out, give him some nutritionists or something, because obviously he's not doing any dieting. He's not losing weight. He's not staying in shape. Granted, he has a foot injury, but you can't put on that much weight while staying out with an injury. So they got to keep him in game shape somehow. But yeah, he's very chunky now, to say the least. He is very, very chunky. So Zion, overweight. Pelicans struggling 1-7 right now. When Zion comes back, will they load manage? I assume so. I assume he's going to be on minutes restrictions in his first couple of games coming back, and he probably won't play any back-to-backs. So they're probably going to nurture Zion a lot when he comes back. So I don't really know how much Zion's going to help you if you're a Pelicans fan, because he's probably going to be sitting out many games this year as well. So it probably won't be any different from any other year. I know he wants to play, but you can't be playing a full 82 and coming this over shape with 300 pounds and looking chunky as he is. So Zion, get in shape, please. You're a hell of a player. We want you in shape. You're exciting to watch, and it gives New Orleans fans something to watch as well. So get in shape, please. Thank you. Now, for the last segment of the show, I'm doing game picks. This a segment of the show where typically Brody and I will make our picks for the day's slate of games, and then the next show we come back and compare our picks and see who gets the most right throughout the season. So first off, Portland at Cleveland. I got Portland. Portland, I believe. Dame's been struggling a lot recently to begin the year, shooting really bad. But I think this is the game where Dame at least has a solid game. Not an insane game, but he has slowly starts coming back to the player we all know and love. So I believe Portland does come on the road in Cleveland to pick up a dub. Next, we got New York at Indiana. This is going to be a very close game. I feel like it's two pretty solid teams going at it. I believe Brogdon's going to be coming back today. So it should be a fun game to watch. A pretty underrated game for today. But I do believe New York's just a more solid and rounded out team. So I believe they'll come into Indiana and pick up a win. But in a close one, I feel like it'll be close. Boston at Orlando. Not going to lie. Kind of almost picked the Magic here. But there's no way Boston loses this game. But you never know. That's what you thought with the Bulls game. But the Bulls are better, way, way better than the Magic. So you think Boston can pick up a win here, and I do believe so. I'll go on a limb. Blowout win for Boston today against Orlando. You got Dallas at San Antonio. I got Dallas picking up a win. I believe this will be another close one. Dallas, despite the record being 4-3, they've looked kind of to begin the year, but I believe with a lesser San Antonio team, they'll pick up a win on the road. Charlotte at Golden State. Charlotte's been a really entertaining team to watch as well, and Golden State with Curry. But at Golden State, that's a very hard place to win if you're Charlotte, especially if Curry gets going. That crowd gets really, really loud. But I say Golden State and will handle Charlotte pretty easily here in this one. New Orleans at Sacramento. I got Sacramento. Two ant teams. New Orleans has looked really subpar, 1-7 to begin the year. So I got Sacramento winning here. Not too much to elaborate on this game. It's kind of a boring game to predict, but I got Sacramento. I just think simply Sacramento is a better team right now as it stands. Chicago at Philly. I believe Embiid's returning for this game, so that'll be a very fun game to watch. I'll probably be watching that game. But with Chicago being 6-1 and picking up a really good win in Boston, I got Chicago. I think they'll come into Philly and shock the Philly crowd. I think, as I mentioned, the Bulls are my second favorite team to watch. They're just really fun to watch with LaVine and DeRozan and my boy Caruso. Sadly not a Laker anymore, but I still love him. So I got Bulls in Philly in a very close one. I'll say Chicago by 5. Atlanta at Brooklyn. I got Brooklyn simply because Brooklyn's at home and Harden's probably going to have another solid game picking up from his Indiana performance. So I think Brooklyn gets the job done in a pretty convincing fashion. Next, we got Denver at Memphis. I believe, Memphis beat Denver in the first game the other day. But I do believe Denver will come out and win this one. Jokic will have a pretty good game. So I got Denver in a close one. And then the last game, the Clippers at Minnesota. Minnesota's had some very hard losses with Denver and getting smoked by the Magic, which was very surprising because Minnesota was leading for what feels like most of the game, and then they're up by like 12 or something in the third, and I kind of stopped watching. And then I checked the score, and they're down like 20 to the Magic, which was a very bad loss. So they've had some pretty hard losses the past couple of games. But Clippers, I hate the Clippers. So I got Minnesota winning this one at home because it's basically Paul George and a bunch of goons out there on the floor right now. So that will wrap my game picks for the day. And I believe that will do it for the first show. Thank you guys for watching. This has been fun to talk about, honestly. First show. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Monday, Brody will be here, so it's not just me rambling for this whole episode. But yeah, that will do it for this show. Thank you guys for watching. subscribe, like it. It'd be greatly appreciated. I'll leave our Instagram in the description. Go follow that. Go enjoy some basketballs today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.